Bechoros Daf. So we learned that the firstborn of any non-kosher animal, there's no chiyuv in Pinyan Ben, but there is a chiyuv for a donkey. The problem is that there's a pasuk that seems like it's a little different. The pasuk says, "Ves bechara beima hatmeya tivda." Any non-kosher animal you shall redeem. Says the Gemara, two pshatim. Either Rabbi Yitzchak says, because it says in the pasuk, "Peter chamor tivda b'seh," and it says it twice. So in the fact that the Torah repeats itself, the Torah is saying only a donkey. Chamor. Another pshat is because you have a klal and a prat. You have a generalization and then a specification, and the specification comes to explain the generalization. What's the generalization? It says, "Kol miknechat izachar," all your cattle, everything you shall redeem. And then the Torah says, very specific, "Peter shor b'seh u peter chamor," only the kosher animals, and from the non-kosher a chamor. So that specification explains the generalization. Now we learned yesterday the halacha of nidma. Nidma is when an animal gives birth to something that resembles a completely different animal. So if a kosher animal gives birth to another type of kosher animal, a sheep gives birth to a goat, we said that the chiyuv of Pinyan Ben remains. What about if a kosher animal, like a cow, gives birth to something that resembles a donkey? Both have a chiyuv Pinyan Ben. But on the other hand, a donkey is a tummy animal. And a donkey only has gdushas damim, only has monetary gdusha to it. Whereas a kosher animal, the bchar, the para, the mother cow, has gdushas haguf. Gemara brings a brayso that a kosher animal who gives birth to a non-looking kosher animal like a donkey, you're chayiv in a bchar. But the Gemara remains in a suffix in two cases. What if a non-kosher animal like a donkey gives birth to something that resembles a horse? A horse is not in the parasha of bchara, but yet they're both tamei. Maybe this should be chayiv. And on the side that you're chayiv on a horse, what if a cow gives birth to something that resembles a horse? Perhaps the fact is that the horse is not in the parasha of Bechora and it's tummy, but on the other hand, maybe it resembles a little bit the mother, and it should be a chiyuv. The Gemara wants to bring a raya from a brayso. The brayso says two cases and two halachas. The two cases are, what if you have a donkey, like we discussed, that gave birth to a cow that gave birth to a donkey, something that looks like a donkey, or a donkey that gives birth to something that resembles a horse. And in both cases, the brayso says that you're potter from Bechor. And then the brayso continues. However, if they resemble the mother, the simanim like the mother, then you're chayiv. So you have a specific brayso that says that if the donkey gave birth to a horse and it resembles a little bit the mother, you're chayiv in Bechor. Says the Gemara, no. Perhaps that last halacha, that if it resembles, it has simanim like the mother, is only going in the first case. The second case remains constant. That if a donkey gives birth to a horse-looking animal, you potter forever on Bechor. The question is, then what's the chiddush? If a cow, which is tar, gives birth to something that looks like a donkey, this is a patur. So certainly, a donkey that gives birth to something that looks like a horse. Says the Gemara, it's very different. A cow has simanim of kashrus, has split hooves, and it regurgitates its food. Whereas the donkey that it gave birth to doesn't have those simanim. So I would think that perhaps that's why it's patur. But a donkey who gives birth to something that looks like a horse, they're very similar. They both don't have simanim. They both don't have split hooves. They both don't regurgitate the food. Perhaps a horse is actually a donkey. It's like a red horse, says the Gemara. So what happens if a kosher animal gives birth to something that looks like a non-kosher animal? Let's say a cow gives birth to a pig. Are you allowed to eat the meat? And what about if a pig gives birth to a cow? It has all the simanim, split hooves. It regurgitates its food. Are you allowed to eat it? Says the Gemara, according to Chachamim, it always goes by the mother. The mother is kosher, then the fetus is kosher, the offspring is kosher, even if it looks like a pig or like a non-kosher animal. The same thing is in the opposite. If the mother is not kosher and it gave birth to a completely kosher animal with all these simonic kashrus, still not kosher, and the Gemara brings psukim for it. Shimon, on the other hand, holds regardless, even if the mother is kosher, the offspring is asur to eat if it looks like a non-kosher animal. And it brings a right from the pasuk because the pasuk says the word camel, gumel, twice. What do Chachamim do with gumel? They learn that the milk of a camel, in other words, all non-kosher milk from all non-kosher animals, is treif. How does Reb Shimon learn that? From the word es hagomel. He darshens the word es. The Gemara brings the famous Gemara that Reb Shimon HaMsuni darshened all the esim in the Torah. Every time he said es, he said a ribui. Until he got to the pasuk es Hashem al-Kechatira, and he said, wait a minute, I can't add anything to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You can't fear anybody but HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So Talmidim said, what about all the esim that you taught us? So he said, just like there's a mitzvah to make a drasha in Torah, there's also a mitzvah to take it back when you know that you're wrong. Says the Gemara, until Rebbe Akiva came and he said, es Hashem al-Kechatira, the rabbis, Talmidei Chachamim, that you have to fear Talmid Chacham as well. By the way, in our shul in Ramat Shemesh, we had a big schus that 3 children before the bar mitzvah put out svarim. One of them, a kid, a peasant kid, put out 2 volumes, large volumes of the Chumash of all the drushes of Esen Shabbat Torah. So if you're interested in that, I could give you the information if you want. Just contact me. I'll call upon him. So the Gemara says, Reb Shimon holds like Rebbe Akiva that you learn all Esen Shabbat Torah. So he has a limud es hagomel to teach us that the milk of a camel and all other animals is streif. But Chachamim hold like Reb Shimon Amsuni, you don't dash in the Esen Torah, and therefore they need to learn gomel. What about milk from a kosher animal? We drink it today. How do we know you're allowed to drink it? What is the problem? Why shouldn't you be allowed to drink it? Well, there's 2 theories about the blood of a nida of a regular woman when she gives birth. What happens to that blood? According to one shita, that blood gets uprooted and turns into the milk. And therefore, when you drink milk, you're actually drinking blood. It should be awesome. And that's why you need a special chiddush in the pasuk to tell us that you're allowed to drink kosher milk. But according to the other Mandamar, no. The blood gets uprooted because the woman's limbs and organs get jolted around during childbirth, and the blood disappears for 24 months, but has no connection to the milk. According to that Mandamar, it's also chiddush you're allowed to drink milk. Why? Because you don't find anywhere in the Torah that something that comes from a live animal is mutter. And therefore, we need a limud in the pasuk to tell us you're allowed to drink kosher milk. What is a limud? Limud number 1 is that Yishai sent with David into war, he sent milk. Obviously, it was to drink and not to do business, because the only people to do business were the goyim he was fighting, and you don't do business with the enemy. Another raya is because it says in the pasuk, Eretz Zavas Chalav Dvash, the milk of the land of milk and honey. The Torah wouldn't boast that it has milk if you're not allowed to drink milk. And the third pshat is because it says in the pasuk, L'chu shivru v'ichlu, L'chu shivru v'lekesev v'lemichir yayin v'chalav, and therefore you see that you're allowed to drink milk. Have a good moed, and I'll see you Be'ez Hashem tomorrow.